Hello and welcome to the Real World Podcast. My name's Cameron. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Real World YouTube channel. Be sure to give us a like, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to get notifications of all the videos we have here at the Real World. If you're a movie fan, if you're a collector of physical media like I am, you can tell from the shelves behind me, then you will no doubt get a lot out of this channel. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to get notifications. We really appreciate that. We're also all over social media. So whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, we're on all of those social media platforms. Be sure to follow us there. And you can also be added to the Real World Facebook group. Today on the Real World Podcast, we're changing up the formula a little bit. We are talking about our most memorable movie experiences, specifically in the theater. This past couple years have been, a tough one for theater owners. They've had to shut down. But since the pandemic has kind of subsided, their numbers have gotten huge. I mean, everyone is flocking back to the theater. Already in 2022, Top Gun Maverick has earned over $1 billion worldwide. So people are hungry to go back to the theater. They're clamoring to get out of the house and get back into a dark room with strangers, which is always a fun and unique experience. It's a communal event when we get together with people in a theater. We, of course, usually attend with friends and family, but like I said, complete strangers are in that room with us as well. Clearly, humans are not designed to go through life alone. And so we kind of thrive on these experiences together. Movies are something that definitely brings people together, as storytelling has since the beginning of time. So I'm really excited to get to share some of our favorite theater experiences here on this episode today. And of course, I'm joined as always by Bert. How you doing, Bert?
Hey, Cam, I'm fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. This was his idea to come. He came up with this cool idea for the podcast, and I thought it was really interesting and going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, hey, Cam, I wanted to throw out there too that not every film on this list is a great movie, and so I'll be mentioning that as I mention some of the films. But depending on my response, maybe it was a good reaction or not. This podcast probably will increase my watch list by many, many films. I'm guessing you've got quite a few that I haven't seen that you've had some great experiences with. So I'll be taking some notes as we go along.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be doing the same. All right. So before we actually dive into our theater experiences and our different kind of points we're going to hit here, first wanted to just tell the audience, those who haven't heard, we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but our earliest memories of movies, how kind of we got introduced to film, cinema in general. My earliest memories are all at home watching movies on VHS. That was kind of how I was introduced to. It was a lot of Disney classics. It was the Star Wars trilogy, Indiana Jones. All those movies are the earliest memories I have of watching films. The earliest theater experience I can remember is when I was about 3 or 4. My grandmother took me to The Lion King. I don't vividly remember it, but she does, and she tells me about it, and it's one of my all-time favorite movies. So
Right.
I was actually on vacation with her and my grandfather in North Carolina. That's where he's from, and she
Oh,
took me to a local theater up there, and we watched it. So
nice.
that's, I guess, the first movie I saw in the theater.
Yeah.
So what are your early memories of movies?
Yeah, my mom was older, and it was just the kids and her, us kids and her, and so, but she was never interested in film. Never saw her watch a movie on TV, not once.
Oh wow.
Never rented a movie, not once.
Yeah.
We're talking the '80s though, and
Yeah.
rentals were not that accessible, especially early in the '80s.
Right.
I mean, you could get your hands on stuff though,
Sure.
and so as a result, we didn't own. I don't think we owned a single movie, and for the longest time, we didn't have a VCR.
Oh.
Uh, and I just happened to, I think I was staying over with a friend one time, and they were going to
Mm.
go see a movie. And I mentioned this in another pod, but I got a little more information about it. So the movie, first of all, the theater was Lakeland. I think it was called Lakeland Cinema. It was like a
Okay.
twoplex. I do remember that in subsequent movies that I would go to, tickets were $2.50 for the adult evening price, or over 13 age,
Wow.
and so even cheaper than that for students or whatnot, I think. And so the first movie was called Space Hunter Adventures in the Forbidden Zone. It came out 5/20/83. So to kind of give you an idea of when we're talking about.
Yeah.
It starred Molly Ringwald and Peter Strauss, and it's not a very good movie. I did go back and rewatch it just to make sure I didn't have different memories, because when I was watching it, I was pretty young and it was very confusing. But even rewatching it, it's just not a great film. The budget was 14 million. It grossed 16 million. It was basically a flop. But yeah, so then that kicked it off. Yeah, and then it wasn't too long after that that Return of the Jedi came out, and I knew nothing about Star Wars. I've said this before. I didn't even know it existed, really. I definitely did not. And so I went to this movie and was completely lost. Fortunately, at least this one, I was really this is where I started to get interested in film, because I actually saw a good movie and loved it, and that kind of kicked things off for me from there.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, we both have very unique experiences, which is cool. It's always cool to get different perspectives. So all right. So first on the agenda, we're just going to go right into unique theater experiences that are memorable to us. I'm sure everyone has these, so it should be interesting to see what we come up with here. Do you want to kick us off with your first one? I have a few different ones.
Yeah, I've got a few short ones. I worked at a movie theater for several years, and I did pretty much every job that there was there. So I mean, there's lots and lots of stuff I could tell you, but just off the top of my head, there were a few things that I remember. One of the theaters I was at was in Pontiac, and it was kind of a good area and kind of not, but we would get kind of a mixed crowd. You get everything from, movie starts, or halfway through the movie, you hear like bottles rolling on the floor because it's at an incline, and then when I was a manager, one time somebody decided to fire pepper spray into a theater in the middle of a showing.
Wow.
And I wasn't in the theater, but then the police come and the people came out and they were angry, of course. And I don't even know if they ever found out who did it.
Wow.
And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And
that is crazy.
There was another time where it was a very busy Friday or Saturday night, and we had this theater I worked at. This particular one was in Auburn Hills, Michigan. It was a 14-plex, and the lobby is very crowded, and there's all kinds of stuff. Kind of crazy, you've been in that experience where it's just a lot going on. And I looked over, and one of our managers, her name was Jen, I believe, and she was arguing with a customer. Well, the customer was arguing with her, and I don't know what the beef was over. I was maybe 30 or 40 feet away, but I was watching this happen because I'm like, oh, what's going on here? And this guy had just finished up a concession. He had a full 32-ounce pop, and he took off the lid and he turned it over and dumped it over the head of the manager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just crazy. I mean, who does
nuts.
That, right?
Yeah. That's something you only see in movies.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then just kind of to change it up a little bit from there, I frequently in the past, more when I was a little younger, I would travel around to different theaters. Part of it was because I worked in a theater chain, and so you could go to any theater, and a lot of them were older theaters that had been brought up to date, and so they were very unique. And so like this one behind me is the Star Southfield. And it was I remember my buddy Greg and I, we loved the movie Speed, right?
Yeah.
And even though our theater, our 14-plex in Auburn Hills, had Speed, we only had one theater that had DTS, because at the time not every theater had surround sound. It was just catching on. And I forget what else. I think it was Braveheart or something else came out at the same time. And I don't know if it was that one, but anyway, they put a different movie in DTS, and so I was really disappointed. And then the next week another movie came out, and they didn't put Speed back in the theater that had DTS. So anyway, I don't know, a few weeks go by and Speed is still in the theaters, but only at one theater. And it was this Star Southfield, which I found out today is no longer in existence, which is a shame, because it was kind of really neat, beautiful.
Yeah, it looks cool.
With like a constellation on the ceiling and stuff like that. Yeah. So anyhow, we drove, in traffic. This theater was anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour away, but I think without traffic, it was maybe more like half an hour. So we drove quite a distance through Detroit area traffic to get to this theater so that we could see Speed in DTS. You know,
Yeah.
our idea was the scene where the bus makes the jump on the
Right.
ramp. You know, we
Right.
thought we want to be able to hear it go from one side to the other. You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
instead of
Right.
like this mono, like some theaters had mono sound. It was
Right.
ridiculous.
Sure.
And so that was our plan. So we get all the way there, and we walk up to the cashier at the box office, and we don't see the movie. It's
Oh
the Speed
no.
is not up there. So we're like, we're here to see Speed. We're probably the only ones here to see Speed.
Yeah.
It's been out for 2 months.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. We had like a rush showing of a different movie that's coming out tomorrow.
Oh.
So unfortunately, we cannot show that movie to you." And I want to say that movie was Men in Black, but I don't know if the time frame lines up. But whatever the
Okay.
movie was, because I think Men in Black was 97 and Speed was
97. Yeah.
94. But
Right.
whatever the movie was, we got to go to the premiere of that movie, and that ended up being a
Oh.
really good movie.
Oh,
I can't,
cool.
gosh, I can't recall what it was.
Right. Right.
It was Men in Black. But anyway,
Yeah.
so you know, it was a fun time, you know, trying to track down this movie regardless.
Sure.
Obviously, a few years later in home video, you can watch it in DTS if you want to. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
that's just a few
great.
things that I remember from going to the theater.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's cool that you worked at one because I've never worked at one, and
I
I
worked
had
at
an
a
uncle
few,
that
yeah.
did. Yeah, so that's pretty neat. Getting to see kind of how it works behind the scenes, I'm sure is
Right.
pretty interesting. I remember my
Yeah.
uncle letting me in one of the projector booths when I was younger because he
Yeah.
worked at one. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Well,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
that was
yeah,
when
for
they still
years
had
and
the film reels and everything
yeah,
too.
right. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never worked in a theater that had the just the digital.
Yeah.
In fact, that Star Southfield behind me was one of the first in Michigan that had digital projection, or you know, the digital
Yeah.
video
Sure.
that they switched to. I want to say around the time of Phantom Menace, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Is when that first became a thing, and now all of it's digital, and I guess
Right.
it's just played on discs. I don't even know
I
because I
guess it's a
haven't.
little thumb drive or something, I think. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
how they get them exactly, if it's a big drive or
Uh-huh.
what it is, but
When I
yeah.
yeah, when I worked at the theaters, it was all you had the film you had to thread through the projector,
Right.
and it was very intricate, and you really couldn't mess much up. And
Right.
it took if you did it fast, you could do it in maybe 20-30 seconds, but
Oh
it was
wow.
kind of risky to do it that fast
Yeah.
because if anything goes wrong, the movie will not play, and everybody in the place is going to have to come back a different time to see the
Right.
movie
Yeah.
because
Have
it's
to
going
get
to
a
be all
refund.
spooled up and out of control.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's pretty neat. Yeah, I'll go through a few of mine. Mine are slightly different perspective. I don't have any of the,
Mhm.
again, theater employment perspective, but one of the earliest memories I have of going to the theater, being excited to go to the theater,
Mhm.
is when X-Men 2 came out.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
X-Men 2, I had seen X-Men 1
Like
on
oh 03 was that?
VHS. What's that?
Like around oh 03?
Yeah, it was '03. Yep, yep,
Yeah. Mhm.
2003. And so I had seen X-Men 1 on VHS. The second one was coming out, and I just remember the anticipation building. Me and my friends were such huge fans in elementary school, with all my buddies.
Oh
We were
yeah.
just we
Yeah.
were devouring all the commercials we would see on television.
Uh-huh.
Oh, did you see that new trailer that came out? And did you see this character's in it? And this is when I
Yeah.
was getting
Yeah.
into comic books and that kind of thing
Okay.
too. So I was like, I wonder what storyline are they going to adapt, and
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So yeah, I just remember being very excited for X-Men 2 and watching it and not being disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's still a movie that holds up as one of the best superhero sequels, I think,
Yeah, it's
ever.
very good.
Very good movie. Of course, Revenge of the Sith. I actually have the ticket stub for Revenge of the
Oh,
Sith, which we saw on opening day, I believe.
is that
Yeah,
episode 3?
episode 3. Yep,
Yeah.
episode
Yeah.
3.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. May 19th, 2005. 2:45 p.m. showing, Auditorium 9, the AMC in Brandon.
Nice.
So yeah, that's one that I'll always remember. I saw it with my cousins, my parents, and that was a big event.
I've been to the
Um,
AMC in Brandon, by the way.
oh, have you? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's still
unless
there.
it's so
It
it's the
is.
older one from years ago. Okay.
Yep, it's same place. That's the one where my uncle worked back in the
Oh.
'90s, and it's got an IMAX in there now,
Oh,
and
okay.
a Dolby theater, like one of those big
Yeah.
Dolby surround sound.
Gotcha.
theaters in there too. So
Funny enough, I visited Florida back in probably, I don't know, 98 or something.
mhm.
And I wanted to go to this theater. I wanted to go to a theater I hadn't been to down there.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I guess I was working for AMC at the time, because I have worked for AMC at certain times. I called the theater and talked to a manager, and I think I asked them if they had I asked them if they had stadium seating. I can still
Oh
remember,
yeah.
because I wanted to see it in a newer thing, because I mean, and stadium seating it only came around like mid 90s. Before that, it
Right.
was all
Yeah.
the flat, you have someone in front of you, you can't see the screen.
Sure.
So I didn't want to drive all the way to Brandon from Lakeland unless
Yeah.
there was stadium seating. And so I told the gal that I talked to that I work for AMC up north. And so she's like,
Right.
well, come on in here and we'll set you up with the movie and all that. And so she let me in the movie for free. And
Wow.
I think she maybe even gave me some popcorn or something
That's
too.
great.
So that was pretty sweet.
That is really cool. Yeah, that's great.
Coincidence.
So, a few others. I mean, remembering back when I was younger, one of the things I remember very well is when I was quite young, I actually got a subscription to Entertainment Weekly, and
Oh, I used to subscribe to that. Yeah.
yeah, and so
It was one of the best ways to stay up on
yeah,
movies coming
yeah,
out.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I would, flip through those and find out all the new movies that were coming out and what I
Yeah.
wanted to watch. And many times I would find out about something and realize that it's based on a book.
Mm,
And when I would tell my
right.
mother this, she would say, "You got to read the book if you want to see the movie,"
Oh no.
because I was homeschooled.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
so
Okay.
it was part of my schooling. Like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
you'll get the reward to go to the
Oh,
theater if you read the book. So
gotcha.
I
Okay.
did that many times. And one of
Hmm.
the first ones was a book and movie called Alex Rider. It's a teen
Oh,
spy, kind of a teenage
yeah.
James
Yeah.
Bond thing.
I vaguely
Um,
remember that. Yep.
it's since been turned into a series, which the series is pretty good, but they
Mm.
only made one movie. There's like 10 books. I've read all the books, and
Oh,
we had to drive about an hour though to see it because it was in limited release, because
oh,
it was a UK film that they only
ah,
released limited here. Eventually came
okay.
to video and anyone could watch it, but
Where did you drive
um,
to see it?
this is when we lived in Texas. It was somewhere in Texas.
Oh,
I don't remember
okay.
exactly where.
Okay.
We were right outside Fort Worth, so it was somewhere in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
But I remember really enjoying the book and the movie, thinking the movie
Hmm.
was good. So that was a unique experience. Did the same thing with the Maze Runner
Oh, okay.
series, the Hunger
Okay.
Games.
Yeah.
There's quite a few different ones that I did. The Road. I don't know if you've seen The Road with
Yeah. That
Viggo, Mor-
post-apocalyptic movie.
Viggo Mortensen. Yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's one
Mm.
that I did the same thing with. So yeah,
Hmm.
a lot of those book adaptations. A few others I'll run down quickly. Superman Returns, I saw 3 times in the theater. Had the poster in my room. I was a huge Superman fan, comic book
Wait,
reader.
you're not talking about the sequel to the 1980 film, are you?
Yeah, so it's the 2006 movie with Brandon Routh as
Oh,
Superman.
oh, okay. But wasn't there a different sequel to the 1980 film?
Yeah, there are 4 movies with Christopher Reeve. They all came out in the 80s.
So you're not talking about the second one of those.
No,
You're
no.
talking about the
Although
'06 film.
this
Gotcha.
is considered a sequel to
Oh,
Superman 2. They kind
yeah.
of just
Okay.
forgot about 3 and 4.
Yeah, this is the
And it
one with
was
Kevin Spacey
yep,
as Lex. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yep, that's the one. Yeah. So I was ecstatic to see a Superman movie. I'd never seen a Superman movie in the
yeah.
theaters. I was a huge
Right,
fan. So I
right.
ended up seeing that multiple times. Again, had the poster on my wall. Cloverfield was a unique
Mm.
experience. That's that found footage monster
Oh
movie.
yeah, yeah. I saw that
JJ
twice in the
Abrams.
theater.
Did you really? Yeah, I
Yeah,
really
yeah. I like
enjoy
that a
that one.
lot.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that one too.
very intense.
Um, Vividly remember seeing Iron Man opening weekend. That was a big
Mm.
one that I was really excited for. The Dark Knight. I had that poster in my room as well. A big one for me was Star Trek 2009.
Mm. Yeah,
I
great
had
film.
basically no exposure to Star Trek before
Oh,
then.
oh.
My
So you didn't know
dad,
all the callbacks to the original actors.
I didn't know, I didn't,
Oh,
but
that's different.
I
Yeah.
still thoroughly enjoyed it though.
Uh-huh.
I think to this day my favorite Star Trek movie and just one of my favorite sci-fi films.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe for Star
It's
Trek.
up
Yeah.
there, but
Yeah.
I ended up after seeing that movie, bought the poster, had the poster up, and went to Blockbuster and rented the original films with the original crew. So I rented all 6 and watched all 6 in one weekend, because you only at Blockbuster you get movies for what, 3 days or something. So I had to watch 6 movies in like maybe 2 or 3 days. Wow. So I marathoned all 6 original Trek movies, which was a blast. I had a great time. I've since bought the original series on Blu-ray. I'm a huge Trek fan, so that was a big one that stood out for me. Raiders of the Lost Ark, I mentioned this on our recent podcast, but I saw that the 30th anniversary IMAX screening. Cool. That was a lot of fun. Another big one was Man of Steel. So Man of Steel comes out, again, huge Superman fan, and I heard about this promo that Walmart was doing, where you could go into Walmart and get an early ticket for an early screening.
Oh.
And I got it. I got one of them. I think it was like a limited number. You had to get there at a certain time or whatever. And I remember driving to Walmart, getting my ticket, and got to see it, a day before it debuted. And my dad and I saw it in theaters, and that was.
And did you like it? You liked it on the first viewing?
Oh yeah. I was a huge fan on the first viewing, and just like it more every time I see it.
Well, I the first time I saw Man of Steel, I didn't really like it that much. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to watch that again. I didn't hate it, but I thought that's forgettable. And I don't know why, because when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, I thought, well, I guess I better watch Man of Steel. And I loved it. I thought it was great. So I don't, sometimes it's just the mood you're in or something, I guess.
Right. So that one, I very vividly remember. The next big one would be Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which highly anticipated. Again, growing up a Star Wars fan, couldn't wait for that to come out. Went to the midnight showing. Did not dress as a Jedi, although I do have a Jedi costume. I was a Jedi for Halloween one time.
What did you see the prequels, the part 1, 2, 3? Did you see those in the theater too back in?
I did. Yes, I was younger. I don't vividly remember seeing the Phantom Menace, but I definitely remember seeing Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah,
and obviously Revenge of the Sith. I just showed you the ticket stub for that. But it wasn't right. We didn't have a Star Wars movie since 2005, so it was 10 years. Between the 2 trilogies, and I went with a bunch of friends, and we just had a blast. So that was another big one for me. That's pretty much all I can remember as far as theater experiences. I could talk about a couple midnight showings. So other than Star Wars, a couple of other midnight showings. The first one I can ever remember is a movie called X-Men Origins Wolverine. This is a movie that came out in 2009. And I remember going with my buddy Jordan. We were both big X-Men fans, had seen all the other ones, and we're really excited. And went to the theater together, and we're there with all the huge X-Men fans screaming at the screen and applauding. And it's just so much fun to see a midnight showing because people are so enthusiastic. Those are the hardcore fans. And I did the same thing with Iron Man 2. Although it was a little bit different because it was actually a double feature. They showed Iron Man 1 and 2 back to back.
Oh,
which was cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, it was really neat. So those are 2 that probably stand out most to me. But I've seen basically almost every MCU movie opening night. They unfortunately don't really do midnight showings anymore. Now they show them at like 7:00 on Thursday. So it's not quite the same vibe, but it's still fun. I still see, again, most of the Marvel and DC movies opening day.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, on X-Men Origins Wolverine, I can't remember. Did you like that movie?
When I saw it, yes. I was on the hype train. Since it's definitely gone down in my mind.
Really?
There's things about it I like. I really like. I mean, Hugh Jackman's always great.
Yeah.
Liev Schreiber,
I really like it.
Liev Schreiber is excellent.
Liev's always good. Yeah.
The rest of the movie it's a little too much for me. There's so many characters they're juggling. And I would have rather they just stayed to the kind of simplistic origin story. I felt like they were trying to add a little bit too much to it.
I like the bounces back in history and stuff. It kind of reminded me of Highlander. In fact, I like it better than the Highlander movies. But
the opening montage that you're talking about when he's going through all the war, that is an incredible sequence. I agree. That is so good.
Right.
Once they get past that a little bit, it is when it starts to fall apart for me a little bit. But
gotcha.
My wife is a huge fan of it, so you and her would get along with that one. Do you have any midnight showing memories?
Not movie specific. So my
Okay.
buddies and I went to a lot of midnight films. In fact, that was the last thing we were usually going to do in the evening on a Friday or Saturday night is we'd look in the paper to see
Right.
when the show times were, or call the
Yeah.
phone number, which
Right.
sounds ancient. But we would see, that movie is it playing, how late is it playing? It'd be like a 12:10 and a 12:40. We'd be like, oh, let's just go to 12:40. That gives us like couple more hours to do what, shoot hoops or whatever. But
Right.
like that, we always had that as sort of like the end result of the evening on a Friday or Saturday. So we saw
Right.
lots of them,
Yeah.
and none really stick out because it kind of blends together. I saw so many
Sure.
films around that time,
Right.
but it's just the memory of just going out, and sometimes we loved it when we were the only ones in the theater,
Yeah.
because you could just talk out, like almost like if you're sitting at home with a buddy.
Right.
You'd be
Yes.
like, wasn't he in that other, like you could just say it out loud
Yeah.
because there's nobody else in the
Sure.
theater.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you do that. Yeah. Like that's so funny you mentioned that. I have to mention this. Opening night, we went to see the new
Oh, right.
Jurassic
Yeah.
World
Yeah.
Dominion.
Yeah.
And it was me, my whole family, all my brothers were there, my parents were there, and we were super excited watching it. And these people behind us kept talking, like, and not whispering. I
Really?
mean, like out loud, like they were the
That's
only ones
annoying.
there, basically. And it got to the point where I had to actually tell them to shut up. And I
Yeah,
very
maybe
rarely do that. I mean, I don't think
yeah, yeah,
I've only done that maybe a couple times.
yeah. It's
But
awkward. Yeah.
they were just so loud.
Yeah. Yeah. What can you do? It's ruining the
Yeah,
movie
I mean, it
for you, I
was like
bet.
it was
Yeah.
clearly annoying other people. Like other people are hearing this, so
Yeah.
it
They were
just
like,
got to
hopefully
the point where I
somebody,
had
yeah, yeah. You took one for the team. Everybody's
right.
like, well, somebody please tell those people to be quiet. And you
Exactly.
did. So did they like go off on you, or were they okay about it?
They were silent the rest of the
Oh,
film.
good.
They didn't.
Good.
They didn't.
Good.
There was no tussle,
They,
unfortunately.
they said, they said, oh, that's right. There are hundreds of people in here with
Right.
us.
Exactly. Yeah, they just
They
must have
forgot
thought
for
they
a
were at
minute.
home. Well, again, that's the thing about the pandemic, right? It's kind of changed movie
Yeah.
going in a way. It's like
Right. Right.
you get so
There
used to
is
watching movies at
etiquette.
home. Yeah,
Right.
you forget the etiquette exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, hopefully they learned for next time.
I think they did. I had another experience that kind of ties into midnight movies where my boss that I worked with at the time, I was 15 years old, and he and his wife liked to go to the movies as well. And so he invited me to go with him. And I think the first time I went with them, we saw Empire of the Sun. I can't remember. And then another time, I went with my boss and his wife, and we made it kind of a marathon. And I'm not proud of this, but we started at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and we saw 3 movies in a row, and we
Wow.
just kind of went from theater to theater. Like, I mean, I blame my boss. I took
Right.
his lead, so I try to throw all of my shame on his way.
Sure.
So the movie finishes, and then we just check the times, and then you just shuttle across to the other theater. So I
Right.
do not condone this, like I said.
Right.
And then it gets to be about, I don't know, it's about 9:30 at night, and the next showing was going to be like 10:40, and I think I want to say it was The Running Man or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, that one was definitely R.
Sure.
And so I mean, and of course, looks like he's my parent, although he was Guatemalan, but I still could have been his kid,
Sure.
and and so we go and sit in the theater for what I think was The Running Man, and we noticed that we had about 50 minutes, 50 minutes to wait, and so we decided not to stay. So that would have put it pretty late, and that would have made 4 movies in one day
Wow.
at the theater. But anybody who's listening to this, you should definitely pay for all those movies.
Yes.
But that was one experience that I remember.
Yeah.
That almost did 4 movies in a row. So I guess the most movies I've seen at the theater in one day is 3.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting because I now remember, I think I did that. It was me and my cousin and a couple other friends.
Gotcha.
I remember now. We saw The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, yeah.
And then we saw Dinner for Schmucks with Paul Rudd and Steve Carell.
Yeah, yeah. Steve Carell's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah. Those were both pretty funny. And
so you saw those back to back?
We saw them back to back, same day in the
Gotcha.
theater. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. That just jogged that memory as you said that.
Nice.
That's good. All right. Well, that's all I had on midnight showings. Did you want to jump into funniest?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so we're gonna talk about our funniest films in that we saw in the theater. So I have a few that I saw that I can specifically remember laughing a lot. And so I'll just kind of run through them real quick here. I put them in chronological order. I mean, they don't have to
Oh,
be,
cool.
but
Great.
so one of them was A Fish Called Wanda, 1988. I saw this movie
That's a great one.
with Sam. I think you know Sam.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
And he may not remember, but I remember that he and I were in this theater. There weren't a lot of people at this showing, thankfully.
Yeah.
And there's a particular scene in that movie where there's a character who stutters, and stuttering
Right.
isn't necessarily on its own funny, but
Right.
Kevin Kline's character is sort of badgering this guy and trying to get him to say something.
Yes.
Is toward the end of the film, and you just have to kind of see it to understand, because I'm not going to
Right.
like quote the lines,
Right.
but it got me and Sam laughing so hard that we literally both fell out of our chairs.
Oh,
I'm not
wow.
kidding. Yeah, I mean, we were pounding the seats. I mean, pounding the floor.
Oh, that's
It was
great.
so much. Oh, I've never had that happen in a movie ever.
Yeah, I
Even
have not
since.
either. That is a unique experience for
It
sure.
just
That's great.
hit our funny bone. And of course, it's a great movie.
Yeah, it
And
is a
Kevin
funny
Kline won an
one.
Oscar for that role. But
Yeah.
so then some other funny ones. And you like Wanda too? You said?
Yeah, that's a great movie. I watched it
Yeah.
a couple years ago for the first time, and it was
Oh,
really,
okay.
really funny. Yeah, I liked it a
Yeah.
lot.
Dumb and Dumber was one that I laughed throughout, and I can just remember that I was seeing something really special, because Jim
Right.
Carrey was just coming onto the scene, and this is sort of his crowning achievement, I guess you could
Sure,
say,
sure. Yeah.
comedically at least.
Right, right, right.
And so that a lot of laughs throughout.
Yep.
Mrs. Doubtfire in
Mm,
'95, that was another
good
one
one.
that, especially the dinner scene at the end, just was
Yeah.
so perfectly. I mean, you don't think about it at the time, but the editing and just
Yeah.
and then Robin Williams was so great. He was one of my favorite
Hmm.
actors
Oh
of all
yeah.
time,
One of the
and that
best.
was his sort of crowning achievement, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Did you like Mrs. Doubtfire?
I do. I do like that. I own that one.
Yeah.
That's one of my
Okay.
wife's favorites. And
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't see it until, again, that's one of what I saw more recently though.
Okay. Okay.
After I met her a
Right.
few years ago, that I watched that one for the first time.
And so then another one is Tommy Boy, 1995. I don't know if you
Yep.
like Tommy Boy.
I do. I like Tommy Boy a lot. That's probably
Okay. Yeah.
might be my favorite David Spade and Chris Farley movie.
Farley movie. Yeah.
They're excellent in that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite comedies of all time, and
Yep.
I just laughed throughout and couldn't believe how good it was. And it has heart too, that's
It
always good.
does.
Another Jim Carrey one, Liar Liar. I was just laughing out loud throughout, like pretty much the whole film. So, I mean, if you
Right.
hate Jim Carrey, you would be in hell pretty much. But
Sure, sure.
I thought he was great. He's he's very funny, and
Yeah,
just
that is
remember
that is
laughing.
one I remember when it came out because my
Ah.
parents really liked it, and I
Uh,
probably saw it a little too young, but I still think it's hysterical.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. A couple more. Elf in
Oh yeah.
2003. Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
especially the first time I saw it, I was not expecting it to be that funny.
Right.
And I personally prefer Will Ferrell to not be sort of the nasty, spewing, like angry
Right.
guy. And
Yeah.
so maybe because of this film, I don't know,
Right.
but I just think it's by far his best film. It's super funny,
I
super
agree.
rewatchable, and I love forced perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And this has loads in it, and probably does it as good as any film. Maybe the only one that took more painstaking efforts could be the Fellowship of the Ring or something like that,
Right.
or
Right.
all of
Yes.
of those movies. Yeah, but that was very, very, very funny.
Yeah, that's one
Unexpected.
we watch it every year. It's a classic. Become a Christmas
Yeah.
classic already.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. And then I only have one more, and it's kind of sad because Elf was '03, and then I've got one from 2013, and then I don't really have any others that I've seen in the theater in the last almost 20 years that
Yeah.
I thought were super funny, and I can remember laughing a lot, which is, and I've
Right.
seen comedies in the theater,
Sure.
probably less than I used to.
Yeah.
But the last one I had is The Heat with Sandra Bullock.
Well, that is funny. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I saw that with one of my kids, and there were a few people in the theater, and for whatever reason, that movie, I don't know, I still think it's pretty laugh out loud funny throughout.
Yeah.
But the first time I saw, I was laughing out loud, and my kid kept telling me, Dad, stop it, people are looking at
Right.
you. I'm like, I'm sorry, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
super funny.
Right.
So yeah, those are the ones I had for
Those
funniest
are
films.
good. Okay, yeah, I'll run down. I don't have a lot for this. I don't gravitate towards comedies. I think
Mm,
comedy, to me, it's the hardest genre to get right because it's so
yeah,
subjective, and it's just very difficult for me to make a comedy work. So I don't seek
true.
them out.
Mm,
Definitely not in the theaters. If
gotcha.
something is on streaming or something like that, I might give it a shot.
Yeah,
But if I'm gonna pay, I kind of want to
yeah.
know what I'm getting is gonna be good. You know
You're
what I
right.
mean?
I've seen not just comedy, other genres too, but it
Right.
is very frustrating when you think, oh, that looks hilarious. And then there's
Right.
two jokes and they were both in the trailer.
Exactly. That happens so
Yeah.
often. And
Yeah.
so
I hear you.
for me, the funniest theater experiences for me are mostly Marvel movies,
Yeah.
which I
There's a lot of
think
comedy in
have
those. Yeah.
great humor. I mean, even then going
Sure.
back to the first
Sure.
Iron Man, there's a
Hmm.
great amount of
Yeah.
humor in there. For me, the funniest ones would be Ant-Man, which I think is great. I'm a big Paul Rudd fan, and Thor Ragnarok, which we talked about last week on the
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast. I
That
think
is
is
really funny.
hysterical.
It
So
is. Yeah.
those are the ones that stand out for me as I remember the theater like erupting in
Mhm.
laughter at a couple moments in those movies,
Gotcha.
and really enjoying those. But yeah,
I
that's
will.
not comedies aren't the ones that I go to theater for usually.
Right, right. Yeah, I'll just say real quick on Ant-Man. I
Yeah.
didn't like Paul Rudd until
Oh,
I saw Ant-Man.
oh okay.
For some, he's always been a comedic actor, and I just
Yeah.
never really cared for him. And then Ant-Man
Yeah.
came out, and all of a sudden I thought he was hilarious. So that was
Right.
kind of strange, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That is funny how that
Um,
happens
yeah,
sometimes with actors. But yeah, I like him a lot. He's pretty good. Do you want to move on to scary movies now?
sure. Yeah, I have a handful of these. I'll go through them here. So one of them, 1988, Phantasm 2. You ever see that one?
I've seen Phantasm. I've not seen
Oh,
Phantasm
okay.
2. I'm a big
Okay,
fan of
okay.
Phantasm, actually.
Are you really? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So me and a buddy saw Phantasm 2 and loved it, and it's very unique, and I think they make the most of their budget. And then
Right.
the tall man in both of those movies, he's
Mm-hmm.
pretty scary.
Yes.
And so yeah, at the
Yeah.
time I was pretty young, and that was pretty good.
Right.
Let's see. The next one is 1989, Pet Cemetery. Did you ever see that
Ooh,
one?
I still have not seen this. I've heard it's good though.
Yeah, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
I probably should have put that on my disturbing list. Come to
Right.
think of
Right.
it, but we'll just leave it on scary because it is pretty scary.
Yeah.
Then I've got What Lies Beneath. You ever see that one?
Yes,
Don't
that's a
Fight for
good one.
Harrison
Yeah,
Ford.
Harrison Ford. Yep. Yep. I
Yeah,
like that one.
yeah,
I like
yeah. The
that one.
scenes with, I mean, it's just a creepy environment. It's
It
like
is.
it's set. I think it's set in the fall, and they're at this lake house, and it's just
Right.
very ambient and creepy. And they've got
Yeah.
that lake, and some things happen there. And then there's the
Right.
scene at the end on the bridge that's super creepy. It gives me shivers
Yes.
right now thinking about it.
Yes.
Brilliant
This is
film that Zemeckis made
right.
when he was doing Castaway, right? Like they took
Yeah.
the break so that Tom Hanks could lose all the weight.
Right.
And he
That's
said,
right.
let's order up that one real quick and wedge
That's
that in.
crazy.
It's a great movie.
Right. It is. It is incredible. And that was one of the first scary movies I remember seeing on DVD. It
Oh,
wasn't in the theater.
gotcha.
But my parents had it. And yeah, that one is very creepy. That one and The Others, Nicole
Oh, sure.
Kidman was
Yep.
another one
That's
I
a good
remember
one.
seeing.
Yeah.
One of the early
That one also is very
horror films
ambient
for me.
and
Yeah. Haunted
creepy. Yeah.
house-ish kind of feel.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Literal
Yeah,
haunted house.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, It Lies Beneath also has a great score, which is very effective for
Yes.
horror. Not all of those are the most desirable scores, but
Right.
moving along, I've got Signs in 2002.
Great movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really creepy too. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. M. Night's maybe his best. I don't know.
Yeah. It's up there.
Next, I've got I Am Legend, 2007.
That one's on my list.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I hate the ending. But
Okay.
the movie was very scary.
Yeah.
And I pretty much enjoy it throughout, but I hated how it ended.
Mm,
It doesn't, I always say it doesn't have to be a happy ending, but I
right.
just hated the ending.
Yeah. Have you seen the alternate ending?
I think so.
Okay.
Is that where he doesn't perish?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I saw it on DVD at one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure I probably liked that better then.
Right.
And I
Right.
kept wanting more from the scenes, the flashback scenes, but it really
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
about that. But it was, it was very scary. CGI is kind of questionable in it, but it is very
Yeah.
scary.
For a long time, they talked about making a prequel.
Yeah, forever they were
Um,
going to do it. I know.
Never
I know.
happened. I don't know why,
Right,
but
right.
yeah, I Am Legend is on the list because that is one I saw in theaters. and
Oh, did you find
was
it pretty
freaked
scary?
out by.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a movie that's it's one of my dad's favorite movies of all time. He
Really?
that's the only
Oh,
movie I
wow.
remember my dad going to see twice in the theater.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he went back and saw that one because he was such a
Yeah.
big fan of it. It's
Gotcha.
just so well done.
Right.
Definitely, I think Will Smith's best film.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
I think he's great in that, and yeah, it's just got a great vibe, great themes, great
Mhm.
story, and yeah, I like that one a lot for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. The CGI, I meant the creatures themselves
Yeah,
are a
right.
little iffy on CGI, but
Yeah,
like what they do with New York, with
right.
Manhattan and some of that stuff's brilliant. You know, that they did great with that. But
Yeah, it really does look like he's the last man on Earth. It's really
yeah,
incredible.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And this, of course, is a remake of the book is
Oh,
called I Am Legend,
uh-huh.
but the original film, I think from like the 50s, starring Vincent Price, is called Last Man on Earth. And
Oh,
then they
that's what
made
it's
it,
based on.
yeah, and then they made it in the 70s
Oh,
again with Charlton Heston. It's called The
oh,
Omega
really?
Man.
Oh, I've heard of that movie. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what that's about, huh?
they're all similar, but have their own kind of spin on it, but each are worth
Yeah. Yeah.
watching.
Gotcha.
I Am
Gotcha.
Legend is my favorite of the three, but they're
Yeah.
all pretty good. Um,
Nice.
so that was it for your scary ones.
Nope. I've got
Okay, go
I've got
ahead.
four more here.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got Cloverfield.
Great.
Was intense and scary.
Did you see
Subway
the
scene with those
sequel?
little creatures. Yeah, yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane. That was
See,
pretty
that
good
one to
too.
me is just as scary, in a different way.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But
It's a
I
good
like that
movie.
one a lot too.
Yeah, I saw that on an airplane. I need to go back and
Oh,
watch
really?
that. It wasn't ideal movie
Yeah,
conditions.
yeah.
Okay, Insidious. You ever see that one?
I have not seen those. I've heard they're good though.
Yeah, yeah. They're a little out there, but they have some really, really scary parts.
Right, right,
And there's other scary movies, but these are ones I saw in the theater. Like I
right.
could talk about Conjuring and stuff like that, but we're sticking to the
Sure,
theater.
sure.
Just to reiterate,
Yeah.
a couple more here. Sinister,
Oh,
2012.
okay.
Sinister.
Haven't
I
seen
hated
that.
the ending in this one too,
Really?
but very scary. Yeah,
Okay.
very atmospheric and scary.
Okay.
And then A Quiet Place, 2018.
Oh yeah. Great.
Tremendous film. It was probably my
Great.
top five films of the year.
Yeah,
One of my
me
favorite
too.
horrors of all time.
Yep. Yep. Very good. Yeah. Unfortunately, did not get to see either of the Quiet Place movies in theaters. I really wanted to.
Mm,
I think the second one was
yeah.
released kind of at a weird time during the pandemic
Yes,
and had
exactly.
a
Yeah.
weird kind of release. But
Right.
I was looking forward to it. I eventually ended up seeing it. But yeah, those are all good picks. I mentioned, my list isn't very big. I'm not a big horror guy. I don't
Okay.
seek these movies out necessarily.
Gotcha.
Um, Definitely not in the theater. But I Am Legend is on my list. And then another one I had was Split, which is the
I didn't like Split.
you didn't like Split. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. I liked
I just
Split.
don't buy, and I love the actor. What's his
Yeah.
name?
James McAvoy.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
fantastic, but I just didn't buy the how they depict the mental illness because it felt really Hollywoodish to me. That was my
Yeah.
main beef with it.
Yeah. Yeah. That I
But lots of
totally
people
get
love
that.
it. I mean,
No, no, and that's a totally valid criticism. I've heard that before too, but I just think the atmosphere, claustrophobic setting, McAvoy's performance is just crazy. I've never really seen someone
oh
do
yeah, it's a
that
good
many
performance, definitely.
characters in a movie.
Yeah,
And
right,
then the
right.
younger girls in it, Anya Taylor-Joy is really good as well, I think. And the ending, of course, if you don't know the twist ending, I guess I'll spoil it here because it's been out for a while. It's tied in with the Unbreakable
Right,
universe,
right.
which I was like, what? Because Unbreakable is one of my favorite movies. It's probably my favorite M. Night
Didn't
movie.
like that one that much either. It's I
Okay.
like it, but I didn't love it. Yeah,
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah.
So that just him doing that, I thought was a cool kind of twist and way to tie it all together.
Right, right.
Glass,
Give
I
the
was a
people what they
little,
want.
yeah, Glass, I was a little disappointed with, but
Yeah, was that the one with the
um,
parking lot scene at the end? I hated that
yeah,
ending. Oh,
yeah, yeah,
goodness.
not great. But the first two I like. So
Good.
yeah, that's all I had for scary
Okay.
movies. Okay, so next on our list, I had date movies.
Okay.
You know, go over those.
Sure. I have one story. I mean, I've had other dates, I guess, that I've taken to movies, but I'll just go with the first one. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the film Biloxi Blues. You ever heard of it? Matthew Roderick.
Oh, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's they go into basic training, and Christopher Walken is this strange surprise, right? He's a strange what are the guys called?
Drill sergeant.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's a quirky comedy, really, is what it is.
Okay.
I took a girl from well, it was more of a friend date, really. But I went with it was essentially my best friend from junior high school. Yeah, probably junior high school.
Okay.
And so we laughed through it, especially the parts that were semi like sexual overtone. We laughed quite a bit at that kind of stuff. It was very, very innocent, very innocent.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, it was just a really fun experience.
Yeah.
That's probably the most memorable
Cool.
date movie. I mean, I haven't had eventful things happen while I've been on
Right.
dates, but do
Yeah.
tell, what do you have that has occurred with you?
Well, I don't have a lot either. I don't have anything
Okay,
specific like
gotcha,
that. But
gotcha.
I do remember being in, I was elementary. It was like fourth grade probably. And there was a girl I liked, and we hung out a lot, and we were just friends, really. But
Hmm.
um, my parents took us to see Spy Kids 2, and that
Oh,
was a big
okay.
deal for us
Yeah, yeah.
because we were huge Spy Kids fans. And
Ah,
that second Spy Kids, yeah, still holds a special place in my heart
nice.
because that was really, really fun. So I remember that one. That's probably the earliest. Again, I was trying to think all the way back as early as I could, and that was one.
Right.
And then, yeah, not a whole lot until I met my now wife.
Okay.
The first date, I guess it wasn't a date because here's the situation. So we're at church. That's where we met at our church,
Oh,
and
okay.
all our friends are talking about this new Marvel movie that came out, Guardians of the Galaxy. We got to go see
Oh,
it.
yeah.
We haven't seen
Yeah.
it yet. I think I had seen it probably on the Friday before, but a lot of my friends hadn't. So we're
Okay.
like, okay, let's go see it. And my wife and her family were newer at our church, and they weren't really
Mhm.
part of the group that was going. But my wife overheard this conversation, and she told her
Oh,
sister, "Hey, let's go see Guardians of the Galaxy tonight at this time at
really?
this place." Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Wait,
And
did you
so
know her at
I
church?
knew her. Yeah, we had talked before, but we
Okay,
hadn't. We
so I
weren't
didn't know how big the
friends.
church was,
We
but
were just
yeah,
acquaintances, really. She hadn't
I
been going to
see.
church for that long,
Okay,
and
right,
so
right.
so we showed up at the theater, and there she is, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, what are you doing here?" And she's like, "Oh, you
That's
guys are
so
coming
weird.
here too? Yeah, so weird." And so she sat
Right.
in the row in front of me, but we watched it
Wow.
and went out to dinner afterwards, and all of us together had a good time.
Did you
And
stare at her
then
hair during the movie? Did you like play with her hair during that
no,
moment,
she was a little
or
too far away. She was like kind of down towards the side,
that makes sense. It'd be
so
really
I
weird no
couldn't.
matter what if you said yes. So
Right, exactly. So, but after that, right? So then we
yeah.
start talking, start dating, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the whole latter half of 2014 all the
Uh-huh.
way through 2015. Our entire
Okay.
courtship was basically just at the movies. I mean, she knew I was a
Gotcha.
huge movie fan. She
Yeah.
wasn't as into movies,
Oh,
but
okay.
she knew I liked it, so she
Did
would,
did
go along.
did she figure out what she was getting in for with with all the
She
movies that you like to watch?
she found out very
Yeah,
quickly,
right,
because that was
right.
really all I wanted to do. I was like, yeah, you want to hang out?
Yeah.
Let's go see a movie. So it was really all my only suggestion. So I was actually just speaking with her before we were recording. What did we see together? We were going through a list, and
Oh.
here's what we came up with. I'm just going to run these
Oh,
down real
nice.
quick.
Nice. Okay.
Um, so we saw Guardians of the Galaxy. And some of these I'll get in. We're going to talk about drive-in later, and
Yeah.
some of we saw at the drive-in. So I'm not going to mention those, but just in the theaters, Guardians
Okay.
of the Galaxy, Project Almanac, which I know you're a big fan of,
Oh, yes. Yeah. Number
um,
one movie of that year.
Jupiter Ascending.
Oh.
Yikes! Yeah, we saw the good
So
and the bad.
bad.
There was no
Oh,
discretion here. Like usually, I was much more picky about what I went and
sure.
saw.
Yeah. No,
With
I
her,
get
I
it.
was like,
Yeah.
as long as I get to hang out with her, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
So
how do you know until you see it anyway? So,
that's true. That's true.
mhm.
So Jupiter Ascending, Kingsman, The Secret Service.
Oh, I hate that movie.
Me too. It's terrible.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, I do not like it at
I
all.
don't get why anybody likes that movie. We can
I
talk about that
know.
later.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
So bad.
McFarlane USA. That's the
Oh,
Kevin
I never
Costner
saw
one.
that.
True story, really
Oh,
good.
okay. Okay.
Cinderella, the live action remake Kenneth Branagh did,
Oh,
which was pretty good.
hmm.
Avengers Age of Ultron.
Oh,
I went and saw that movie 5 times. I've seen it more than any other movie. And it's because I saw it
whoa.
with her twice. I saw it with my brother. I saw it with my friends. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
saw it all these different times.
Wow.
So
I've
yeah,
never seen a
that
movie 5 times in the theater.
me
Three
neither.
is the
Not
most I think that I can remember.
yeah, not before or
Yeah.
since have I done that.
You picked a good one.
Tomorrow,
It's a good movie.
yeah, yeah, I like it. Tomorrowland,
Oh,
um,
sure.
San Andreas,
I like that. It's okay.
Yeah, that was okay. Jurassic World,
I like that one.
Ant-Man, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, The Man
Uh-huh.
from Uncle, The Martian, one of my
That's a
wife's
good one.
all-time
Yeah,
favorites. She really
that's a
likes
great
that
one.
one a
Yeah.
lot. The Peanuts movie, the last two Hunger Games movies. We were both big
Oh,
fans of the books, so we went and saw those together. Creed, In the Heart of the Sea, based on another
oh,
book I read.
I saw that one. Yeah.
Yep. Star Wars: The Force Awakens, The Finest
Good one.
Hours. That's the one about the Coast Guard, the True Life
I saw that
Rescue
one
with
too.
Chris
Yeah.
Pine.
Also in the theater. Yeah.
Yeah. We just mentioned Cloverfield Lane. We saw that together. Batman v Superman.
Mm,
That one I saw at least twice.
yeah.
Captain America: Civil War, X-Men: Apocalypse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Out of the Shadows, The Legend of Tarzan, the
Oh,
BFG. Getting into 2016 a little bit, Jason Bourne, Kubo and the Two Strings,
mm,
Doctor Strange, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and Rogue One. So tons of movies. I mean, it was just again nonstop movies. I was like,
nice.
we were
Nice.
looking at some of these. It was like every week, like
Yeah.
once a week,
Sure.
we would go to
Sure.
the theater and
And it
see
gives you something to
something.
talk about after, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It was tons of fun. We grew closer together. Obviously, we're married now, so
Yep.
yeah, those are the most memorable date movies, I guess you could say for me. There's a bunch of
Cool.
them. Do you want to jump into next section is R-rated?
Sure.
First R-rated movies?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
First R-rated movie I went to with my buddy Chris and Sam. You know Sam, I mentioned
Yep.
before.
Yep.
They helped me. They aided and abetted, and they sneaked me into Die Hard. And it
Oh,
was
perfect. Wow, that's a great one.
awesome. It was so amazing. And you know, the plan was always, I assume this is everybody's plan in that situation. You go to a multiplex, you buy a PG-13 ticket,
Right.
and then you just, oops, is this my theater? You know, let me,
Right.
oh, well, now that I'm in here, I guess we're good. Slink
Right.
down if the usher comes in, right?
Right, exactly.
And I have been found out. I did get found out a couple
Oh, really?
times in the past. Couldn't tell you what movies they were, but
Yeah.
it was rare
Yeah.
because you know I've worked at theaters. You don't usually care, you know, really.
Sure, sure.
But yeah, Die Hard was that one. There
Okay.
were many others, but just super memorable. What about you?
Yeah, I've never snuck into a movie.
Really?
I'm a good little boy, I guess. I don't know. I just never even thought about it until like friends would say they did that, and I was
Wait,
like, what? You can do that? I didn't even think
right?
of doing that ever.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I've never done that.
Huh.
So the first R-rated movie in the theater, I think, was fairly recently. I think it's Mad Max Fury Road.
Ah.
Um,
Okay.
so that was the first one I remember seeing. I went by myself. My wife was not interested, or she was busy at the time
Hmm.
when we were dating when it came out. And so, yeah, I remember going to the theater. I was like super excited. I had seen all the old ones
Ah.
on DVD,
Yeah.
and so that was the one
Okay.
that I saw first, our first R-rated one in the theaters.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. All right, so we want to talk a little bit about 3D. That's become a big thing recently, and it's looking to make a comeback with the sequel to Avatar coming out later this year. So it's kind of gone away. There's not. It's kind of harder to find a 3D showing nowadays, but for a while it was the thing. I mean, after the first Avatar came out, you couldn't find any movie that wasn't in 3D.
Typically, yeah.
So, what are your 3D movie experiences?
I love watching 3D. Sometimes it's better than others. I love watching movies on my 3D TV too. So I would say that the best 3D presentation that I've seen in a theater, perhaps surprisingly, where the 3D itself is really, really good, and that would be The Last Airbender,
Oh
a
yeah,
movie that many people hate for some reason.
right, right.
And I took my daughter to see. We actually saw it twice in 3D because it was
Wow.
so good. And
Yeah.
I can't say the movie itself. I mean, it's not like it's a 5-star movie. You
Sure.
know, it's got some issues, but it's an
Right.
enjoyable enough film. You know,
Sure.
I kind of like what I actually like what M Night tried to do with the movie.
Yeah.
And then the 3D itself just looked phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
just there's quite a bit that does jump out at you. I don't think the best 3D movie is one that nothing jumps out at you. I've heard it, you know, I've heard
Right.
that said by probably a director or someone in the past, like, oh, it's just
Yeah.
supposed to all blend and give depth. Well, no, I want stuff to jump out at me. Okay.
Right.
That's what I
Sure.
want.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
there's some really, really extreme depth scenes in that movie
Yeah.
too, near the beginning especially. So
Right.
anyway, so that's probably the most extreme 3D that I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
The best film overall probably was the Avatar experience, and it
Yeah.
helped that it was in IMAX. So it was IMAX
Oh,
3D,
wow.
and that
Wow.
was really good. Although after a while, the thing with 3D is, as you may know, after a while, your eyes kind of forget that it's something special.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And if you don't take your glasses off part of the way through and put them back on, it doesn't even really feel like it's that impressive after a while.
Right. Right.
But
Sure.
anyway, yeah, that was probably the best movie that I've seen in 3D.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have to agree. Avatar kind of stands above the rest. I mean, it was made for 3D, right? A lot of the
Yeah,
films that came after
yeah,
Avatar were like converted to 3D later because
right.
they
And it
could
can
charge
still
a
be
little bit
good.
extra. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Sure.
been some great conversions.
Right. There
Titanic
have.
being one. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. So, yeah, Avatar still, I think, is the best. The Last Airbender, we have to do a whole podcast on that because that's one that I I
Do
don't
you
I
like
don't
it?
hate it as much as some people,
Oh,
but
you
I'm a fan
dislike
of
it
the
though in
animated
general?
series, and so I
Oh, I
think
had
that's where
never
the
seen any of that.
disconnect happens. Yeah, and M
Oh,
Night, he was a fan of it, and he just tried to do his
oh,
own thing with it.
right, right.
And for most people, it didn't really work. For me, some of it works, some of it doesn't. I
Well, we
think
could
is more
revisit
where I
that if
am.
you want.
Yeah, we probably should. But I was trying to think back. What was the earliest? Was Avatar the first one? But then I remembered,
Oh, for you? Yeah.
for me, the first one was Spy Kids 3. Spy
Oh,
Kids 3 Game Over. It was all 3D, and it was the first
okay.
one I remember seeing in
Okay.
3D,
What
and it
year
was a
roughly
lot of
was that?
fun. That was '06, I think,
Mm, okay.
or '05 maybe. But that one was mostly stuff coming at you,
Yeah,
it wasn't a
yeah,
lot of the depth that we got with Avatar and the subsequent movies. It was a lot of like stuff jumping out and
yeah,
things like that. So, but it was a good one. I remember
yeah.
enjoying it. And so, yeah, that was the earliest 3D movie I watched. But
Gotcha.
yeah, after Avatar, I remember seeing so many movies. I think Thor,
Yeah,
Captain America. I know a lot of those Marvel movies. I remember
right.
Clash of the Titans, the
Oh, sure.
remake
I
with
have
Sam
that on
Worthington.
Blu-ray 3D. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I remember seeing that one and enjoying that on 3D. So yeah, there were a lot in that era right after Avatar that I saw in 3D and really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'll throw some love to Journey to the Center of the Earth. That has some really
Great
good
pick,
3D in
yeah,
it.
definitely.
Yeah, I saw that one in 3D, and then I also saw the sequel in 3D, and I liked the movie itself, but the
Yeah,
3D was terrible in it. In the theater, it was
yeah.
bad. Now on video, it's better. It's actually
Okay,
better. So I don't know what was going on, if they had a problem with something in projection. I don't know,
yeah,
but
yeah. I like both of those movies a lot. Yeah,
yeah,
those
they're
are both good ones.
fun.
I
Mhm.
revisit. I have both of those on Blu-ray as well, and yeah, I do remember seeing the first one in 3D and really being impressed by it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that
yep.
was fun. You kind of mentioned IMAX with Avatar. What is your first? Do you remember your first IMAX experience?
I do. Back before films were made in IMAX, they would just have like documentary film. I mean, like not
Right.
even documentary films, just like specials, like an hour
Yeah.
long film, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
first one I was actually in Canada at the time, and there was an
Oh.
IMAX, and so of course I wanted to go to it and
Hmm.
check out the theater and check out something in IMAX because I'd never actually seen it. I think at the time the ticket price was $6 for an IMAX, but for a 1 hour, this isn't a Hollywood
That's
movie; it's
true.
just like a
Yeah.
1 hour sort of
Right.
documentary, and I thought
Sure.
that was pretty pricey at the time. This probably would
Yeah.
have been around '02, '04. I don't really know,
Okay.
maybe even earlier than that, but
Oh,
and it was pretty cool,
yeah.
so that was the first non-Hollywood IMAX, and I've seen a bunch. I can't really say that something sticks out over and above Avatar.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine. I did not get to see that in IMAX, but I would imagine that would be pretty spectacular. For me, now that you mentioned the documentary thing, we
Hmm.
have locally a museum called Mosey, Museum of Science and Industry, and they have an IMAX dome theater.
Oh,
So
really?
the screen is like it's all around you, and
Oh, yeah,
you're
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
sitting back in your chair more and kind of
Okay.
looking up at it.
Hmm.
And they showed Hubble,
That's cool.
the Hubble
Oh,
documentary
okay.
that Leonardo
Oh, neat.
DiCaprio narrated, and that
Okay.
was spectacular. I mean, I've
Huh.
never seen anything since. I mean, I felt like I was in outer space. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Well, now you mentioned that,
Yeah.
years ago when I was at Disney World, in Orlando, they had it was kind of like a short film, like it was a nature kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you went into this theater room, and the screen was 360 degrees, and
Yes.
you were in something
I've
where
been
you
there. Yeah.
took flight. Oh, is it
Yep.
still a thing?
It's still a thing.
But
Yeah.
it can't be. It's still the same video, hopefully, after like
Probably not.
30
Well,
years.
you could be referring to something else, but the thing I'm thinking of is in Epcot when you go visit
Oh,
Canada, and
oh,
it's Martin Short hosting it.
oh, it's something. Yeah, it's
It's like
something
a
different.
view of Canada. Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
it's a 360-degree view.
Screens all the way around. You stand
Yeah.
up in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So then, like in this film, you take flight on something I can't remember,
Yeah,
and
like a
then
hang
you could,
glider or something.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was it. Maybe it is
Yeah.
the same film, but you could
Maybe.
turn around and see what it would like if you look like if you're really in the thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very unique.
It is.
Hasn't caught on mainstream though.
Right. Yeah.
Can you imagine a
That would
director
be,
trying to frame everything for
oh
the
man, how difficult that would be. Well, it's
yeah.
funny you mentioned that. Top Gun Maverick did that thing. Have you heard of this? The Screen X, where
No.
so there's very few of them from what I understand, but it's three screens. So it's a screen in front of you, a screen on either side. The walls literally are
Oh,
screens. There's nothing behind you, but you can look around and you can see those aerial sequences
really?
are full. Yeah. It's called
Well,
Screen X.
what theater has that going
I don't
on?
know. There's very few. I think
Huh.
there's only like two in Florida that have
Oh,
them.
oh, if they're in
Um,
Florida, I mean, that's where you are. I
right.
probably would have driven to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It could have been interesting. I heard about it after I'd already seen Maverick, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that's so cool because they had cameras mounted all over
Yeah.
the airplane, all in the cockpit and everything. And yeah, it
Wow.
sounded interesting.
See, it sounds immersive.
Yeah, definitely. But talking a little bit more about IMAX, I'm a huge fan of the IMAX format. The first narrative film I saw in IMAX was at the same place. It was the only IMAX theater around until 10 years ago or so. It was Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Mm,
And so we
that
had to
would have
go
been
to
good.
go to Mosey, see it at the Dome, which was odd because it wasn't shot for a dome. So it was kind of the image was kind of bent on the side. It was a little
Yeah.
strange, but the reason we went is because we were fans of Mission Impossible and wanted to see it. But the reason we wanted to see it in IMAX is because Chris Nolan was releasing the Dark Knight Rises prologue in front of
Oh yeah.
Ghost
Yeah.
Protocol.
Gotcha.
And that was the
Gotcha.
only place I could see it. And I was dying to see the new Dark Knight movie. So, and that looked spectacular. I mean, the
Yeah.
hijacking of the airplane that Bane does, and
Sure. Sure.
it was really cool to see that.
So with
in
Ghost
IMAX.
Protocol, you got to see in IMAX that Dubai scene where he's up on
Yes, and
the
that was
skyscraper.
that would make your stomach turn. I mean, that was
Yeah,
crazy in that kind of format.
yeah. That would have been neat.
It was a different experience. I would say those sequences were great.
Hmm.
The rest of the movie, again, it looked a little weird. Seeing it in a weird kind of dome
Gotcha.
theater that way, but a very memorable experience for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't mention this. I mean, yeah, technically, I mean, I saw Dark Knight in IMAX, but a lot of it doesn't fill out the whole IMAX screen, you know.
Right.
So I mean, obviously that's a 5-star film,
Yeah.
one of my favorites of all time,
Sure.
way better than Avatar. But I didn't really
Yeah.
mention that because it's not a full IMAX throughout.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, Nolan does that a lot with his movies. He'll do certain
Right, certain
sequences in
scenes.
IMAX.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other IMAX?
That's all I had on IMAX.
Cool. Yeah, me too. The other things we'll mention are D box, which I only actually have one D box experience.
Oh, okay.
And it was just last year. Free Guy came
Oh.
out with
Oh,
Ryan Reynolds.
yeah.
And my boss got my wife and I tickets. He was a huge fan of this movie. He's like, "You got to go see this movie." I was like,
And
"Okay."
he set you up with D-Box tickets?
He
That's
set me
awesome.
up with D box. Isn't that pretty cool? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
What
pretty
did you
neat.
think?
So I liked it. I thought it was the perfect movie for that. I wouldn't go see every
Yeah.
movie in D box, but
Right.
yeah, there's so many things going on in that movie, action, explosions, and all
Mhm.
kinds of different things. So I thought it was the perfect first D box experience. I'll definitely go back.
Right.
I like that they have on the chair, you can choose
The level.
how intense you want the experience to
Yeah.
be. I was like,
Yeah.
I gotta go full, right? I mean, there's no other way to go than max it out. So
You
and I
don't go
liked it.
D-Box and go, I better dial this back. I don't know what
Right,
they're gonna pull
exactly.
here.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want the limited D box experience. Level 1, please. I don't think anyone does that. But have you done D box?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Not so much anymore, but
Yeah.
when it first came out, I saw a few in D-Box, and probably the
Okay.
most memorable one, and was also a great movie. It's one I think you don't like though. It was Pacific Rim.
Oh, I like that one. No,
Oh,
I'm a
you do
huge
like
Pacific
Pacific
Rim
Rim.
fan. Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I've
yeah.
got
That
that on
was.
Blu-ray.
Oh, dude, yeah. It was.
Yeah,
I think my favorite film of that year that it came out.
yeah,
But yeah, I
really
saw
good.
that in D box, and it does enhance it.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable.
right.
I don't know who wouldn't
Yeah,
like it. It's a pricey way to go,
sure.
and
And
it's only
that's
select films, and you're not going to see a drama on D box and just sit not moved the whole
exactly
time.
right. Exactly. Yeah, specific
Thrilling.
movies would be great. Pacific Rim would be incredible in D-Box, I would imagine. Lastly, we're kind of going back to an older way of seeing movies in drive-ins.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, drive-ins have kind of gone away. They've shut down most of them across the country. There's not a ton left. We fortunately have two here in Florida, pretty
Mm.
close by. One is about a 10-minute drive. It's very close.
Oh, nice.
The Silver Moon Drive-In.
Oh, I
And
remember that one. Wait, what city is that in?
yeah, it's in Lakeland.
It is in Lakeland.
Yep.
Yeah. Hasn't that been there for like 40 years
Forever. Yeah, very
or
long
longer?
time.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
long time they've been around. And yeah,
Yeah. Well,
they
since you brought up the Silver Moon,
yeah,
just I jump in on that specific drive-in because I lived in Lakeland, for when I
right.
was growing up.
Yeah.
And I could see that screen from the top of my like the roof of my church.
Oh, cool.
And I was very young, but I always
Yeah.
thought, oh, that'd be awesome. We could go up here and watch movies and not be able to hear it. But I
Right.
felt like I was like seeing something that was like, ooh, I didn't even have to have a ticket. What
Right.
am I really getting?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're seeing it like this small.
That too. Yeah. Yeah. You need a telescope. I didn't mention
Right.
that part.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though. Yeah, that's a great theater. They do a good job with that place, and they're keeping it alive. It's a struggle, but they actually kind of thrived during the pandemic because
Oh
everyone's in
yeah.
their own
Yeah.
car. They didn't have to shut
Right.
down.
Right.
So
Right.
that was kind of a big plus, and we saw seen many movies there. I didn't really ever go to a drive-in growing up, but my wife grew up going to the drive-in. She went
Oh, okay.
often, and so when I met her, she said, "Let's go to the drive-in." I was like, "What?" Didn't even know that was still a thing. Didn't know it was here. She was like, "Yeah, right here. They've got a drive-in theater." I was like, "Oh, cool." I remember, seeing drive-ins in old like 50s movies like Grease.
Right.
There's that whole
Right.
scene stranded at the drive-in, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I get to experience a drive-in." I didn't even know. So the first time I went to a drive-in was with her and her family. We were trying to figure out what the first one was, and it was either an animated movie called The Book of Life, or it might have been Night at the Museum: Secret of the Tomb, which is the
Mm.
third Night at the Museum movie.
Oh.
So one of those were my first drive-in experience. Very enjoyable, really fun. What's cool about it is, you can obviously sit in your car. That's how most people do it. Or if you have like a van or an SUV, you can back it in and open the back hatch, lay down
Right.
blankets and do it that way. And so we've done that many times. Or you can just, bring a lawn chair and sit in a lawn chair next to your car. A lot of people
Mhm.
do that.
Right.
So yeah, we've had tons of fun at the drive-in, seen many there. I'll mention a couple more that we saw. Strange Magic, which is another animated. A lot of these are
Mm.
animated kids movies we saw with our siblings there with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Home is another animated one. Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Oh, that was bad.
Really bad. Really bad. Pan, that recent Peter Pan origin movie,
Oh,
which I also was not a fan of.
okay.
One that I did like was Goosebumps with Jack Black.
Hmm.
We saw that
Okay.
in the drive-in. So, and we've seen many others since, but
Okay.
those are some of the first ones we watched at the drive-in. And we've
Yeah.
taken our girls there a couple
Okay.
times since we've been married. So
Right.
it's
Right.
still a place that we visit often. They're still thriving. They still are
Mm.
packed out. You have to get there early to get a spot
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
a lot of people go. It's a great way to do it with the family. It's just
Right.
you don't have to worry about the kids being noisy or anything like that, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and if you believe movies about or yeah that take place in the 50s, I guess it was quite the social hangout. I don't know that
Yeah.
it's that way anymore. At least I don't know what you've observed when I've been there. I don't really see like the cool kids from high school
Right.
like facing off and stuff like that,
Right.
right?
No. Yeah. Right.
Isn't there a scene in Karate Kid that takes place at a drive-in? I think there is.
Oh yeah, I think there is. Yep.
Yeah, the first one I ever saw was Free Willy. I
Oh,
saw that
okay.
at a drive-in. It was
Yeah.
what it was playing, so it
Sure.
was a limited choice there. And
Right.
I haven't seen that many over the years, although during the pandemic, we did go see one Hobbs and Shaw was the
Oh,
movie.
okay.
And it was a disaster
Yeah.
because at the time we had a Ford Escape, which I loved the Ford Escape. If it's too muggy or if it's raining, you can't go to the drive-in with a newer model Ford Escape, or at least this one was a 16, I think, because it's raining, so you don't really want the windows down and it's loud, so you want to be able to hear the
Sure.
movie. So you put the windows up. Well, then it starts to fog up. Well, then
Right.
you got to start your car to run the defrost,
Yeah.
but you cannot turn off the daytime running lamps when your car is running.
Right.
And so what happened then is the people in front of us would start honking their horn because
Right.
understandably we're
Yeah.
shining a light on them. They're probably
Right.
thinking, what an idiot, turn off your light. And so after several minutes of trying to troubleshoot this and figure it out, we actually gave up because we weren't getting anything. And the rain was so loud that we couldn't hear the movie. Definitely not
Yeah.
over the engine. And anyway, it was just a
Yeah.
complete disaster.
Right.
So I do want to go back, and that's a good idea because with kids, you can go there and not worry about them talking and stuff.
Yes.
But
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
so my most recent experience was a failure, but it's
Yeah.
not the fault of the drive-in per se. I just wouldn't recommend that particular vehicle if you're going to go.
Right. Yeah. That's
I have a
funny.
different car
Yeah.
now, so
Yeah. Can be difficult at times. It's not quite as easy as just, sitting down in the seat at the, indoor theater, but yeah, many adventures. Yeah, we've dealt with rain, we've dealt with all that here at our local drive-in.
yeah,
Always
kind of
makes
makes
it
it fun.
for a good memory.
Yeah.
All right, well, that will do it here for us on The Real World, our episode on the most memorable movie experiences in theaters. Thank you so much for being here. Be sure to like the video, hit subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications. Thanks, Bert, for joining us.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It was a great idea. So I'm glad we went over these. Let us know your favorite movie experiences in the comments below, and we will see you next time right here on The Real World.